Hi, Dom.
Hey Mike, what's up? How you doing?
I'm freezing. I'm in Antarctica. uh, so
Antarctica.
yes,
Yeah, I'm not quite in that mind frame, but
yeah. Well, it's actually chilly here. It's rainy and it's chilly, but it certainly isn't Antarctica. But but yeah, this was your pick, and this is a great movie. This is one of my favorite movies, and certainly one of my favorite horror movies. So I'm very happy you picked this one because
yeah,
it's
well,
an
we've been
all-time.
talking about it back and forth
Yeah,
for a long time because we both love this movie. This
yeah,
is like, if you're gonna do a list, this is like top 10 in
yeah.
so many lists for the both of us, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, this and and I've said this before, I'm sure, but whether I said it on spoiler alert, I don't know. But every winter I try to watch this movie and The Shining on the same night, hopefully during a blizzard, and I order Chinese food. Chinese food just for fun, but but yeah, I stalk in on the on during the storm, and both of these movies or both of those movies concern isolation and cold weather, and this one has it in spades. It is a incredibly. But why don't you do the introduction before?
Let me just say first, you're not the only one with that tradition.
Really?
Whenever there's a new Norwegian mission up at the Antarctic Research Center,
Yeah.
they all watch this movie.
Wow. Well,
That's a tradition for
that's
them.
awesome. That's an incredible. I didn't get a chance really to look up too much in the way of. I know a little bit of trivia around this one, but I didn't get a chance to look up too much. But
That's good. There's too much trivia. We
yeah,
could talk for a week on
right.
everything that's out. But before I go on, before we
Yeah,
get really into this, this is the 1982 movie The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing.
yes. And John
Um,
Carpenter did it right.
I feel a little ridiculous describing this because this is like it's beyond me that someone might not have seen this movie, but
Yeah.
Lisa had never seen this movie.
Wow. Wow. Well, she's
Yeah.
not a real huge horror fan though, is she? Or is she?
No,
Or
no,
no?
and this was during a point of time in both our lives that it's not like we had independent access to theaters. Like I
Yeah.
wouldn't have seen this movie at the theater if it hadn't been for you.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I can't remember, did we go to the theater or did we go to a drive-in?
Almost positive it was a drive-in.
That was my memory. I didn't want to say it, but that absolutely was my memory, was that we saw it at the York Drive-in. You, your brother Mike, I don't know if anyone else went, but I just remember having a lot of fun and bringing a lot of snacks, and I'm sure it was like a double or triple feature,
Oh, I'm
but
sure of it.
yeah,
They
but
all were. And this is a perfect drive-in movie.
it really is. In fact, I feel bad for people that don't get the drive-in experience that we were able to have because and this movie, I have such a warm place in my heart for such a cold movie. uh, I really do because this movie just has fond memories. Everything from all of the reshowings that I've had with different family friends that I've made watch this movie with me, and just our initial watching it at the drive-in. But what a fun movie! And you want to give I mean, you were just
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
it.
So this week on
Yeah,
spoiler alert, 1982, John Carpenter's The Thing. A team of American researchers find themselves uh, up in Antarctica. So they're fairly isolated. They can't get much radio reception. There's a storm coming in, but they're used to it. They've been here. This does not bother them at all. But one day, while they're just doing their thing, they start hearing helicopters and gunfire. So they rush outside to see this helicopter from the nearby Norwegian research camp. And the people in the helicopter are shooting at this dog that's running through the snow.
right. Which looks totally insane.
which was totally insane. Like they don't know what's going on. And, cabin fever is a thing. Did these researchers go insane?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so the dog runs into the American camp. The helicopter lands, and the two researchers get out, guns in hand, still trying to kill the dog. And in the ensuing fire, one of the American researchers gets shot.
in the
That
leg. Yep.
team returns fire, killing the Norwegian researchers.
Well, and it's
So
too
now,
bad. It's too bad because it just so happens that his pistol shot is dead on. He hits the guy right in the forehead.
yeah, don't get me going about suspension of disbelief because for that firearm to have that level of accuracy at
Yeah,
that
at
distance.
that distance, yeah. And they weren't even hitting with the, I mean, they were running, they couldn't even hit with the rifle, adrenaline flowing. And listen, we've both spent time at the range and things like that shooting. And with pistols, the old adage is always if you're in a firefight, you shoot with a pistol till you get to your rifle. So so the superior advantage, and yeah, he manages to hit this guy dead center in his forehead. So of course now there's no living Norwegians to tell them why they were shooting. So
So
yeah,
anyway, the movie happens when they realize the dog was not a dog, but some alien creature able to assume the form of any living thing. And it starts to eat the dogs,
yeah.
eat
Well,
some of the researchers, take their form. So now it looks like a fellow researcher, and paranoia runs wild as no one knows who they can trust.
once it becomes established that this thing can take any form of living creature, um, then all of a sudden, yeah, it's like who got exposed, who spent time alone with the, and this is, they managed to take a beautiful, lovable looking husky and make him look so, just by him peering into a room, you're thinking to yourself, holy shit, this, and the, like I said, the dog looks,
But
initially,
by the way, that dog is Jed.
okay,
And John Carpenter had nothing but praise for that animal actor. He said he's never seen an animal better on film before. The animal took direction, never looked at the crew, never looked at the camera,
yeah.
and was basically just perfect for the movie.
Yeah, I mean, even you're looking at this scene, he's walking down the hall first, and he's just the way he's glancing, he's looking like for a person, and then he gets to that room, and you can see the shadow. It's a beautiful scene. You can see the shadow of the guy in the room, and the dog just like looks in, and they leave it at that. It cuts away, goes to another scene, and you're like, you can see the dog sort of just like entering the room, and that's it. Just beautiful cutaway. But what a movie! And I actually rewatched the original. This is the original thing from another world, and I
Mhm.
rewatched it just so I'd have a little bit of context again. I'd seen it plenty of times before, but this is a good classic old style horror movie. And believe me, I do not put this down in any way, shape, or form. But my God, when John Carpenter did this movie, the thing, is just on another level. It's so good,
It
so
was
good.
clear that everyone involved in the thing took their job ultra seriously and
Yeah,
and put hours of thought, hours of effort into every scene.
yeah. Well, one thing before I even forget it, and I can't think of the actor's name right now, but um, it's oh shoot, the the doctor, um,
Oh, Wilford Brimley?
no, not Wilford Brimley, the other, the I guess he's right behind my head. You
Oh,
can't.
Dr. Cooper, played by
Yes,
Richard Dysart.
Copper. Yes, he. And I never saw this. I don't know if you saw this when you were watching the movie, but I've got the 4K version. I think that's what you saw. and he has a nose ring. He
Huh.
has a Yes, he has a gold nose ring, which I in all of and I've seen this movie a lot of times over the years. I never noticed it.
Yeah, I
And I
never
was
noticed it
thinking,
either.
yeah, I was like, wow, why does he have a nose ring? And I was thinking, was that like the actor? Was that something he had in his personal life? And it turned out that all these guys, they all like really took on, they wanted to be true to their characters, and they all took on these little things that they felt would make it more realistic. And he decided he wanted a nose ring because he said, a guy like this that is up in Antarctica and doing this kind of a stint, he's got to be a little bit left of center. He's got to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
So even though he looked pretty conservative, he's got that nose ring to make you see like, wow, this guy's got a little, he's got some quirks, you know. So yeah, I just thought that was a really cool touch. And I actually went and looked it up, the nose ring, and it was like, yeah, that was his personal choice. He decided
Yeah,
he want,
these actors really made these roles their own.
yeah,
I heard a story where, do you remember the radio guy with the glasses, Windows?
hmm,
So
who was a great
anyway,
character also. Yeah.
according to the script, he had a different name.
Oh, really?
And so they were all doing rehearsals, they were running through their lines, and he was someone else. And then evidently, one day he comes on set wearing those glasses and
Huh.
tells everyone, "My name is Windows from now on." And
That's
everyone just
great.
accepted it. There was never
Yeah.
any explanation.
Wow.
No one
Wow.
knows why the change,
Yeah. Well,
but he was
I
Windows.
I actually like the name Windows. I thought it was a cool name for him. And he was definitely a quirky guy. Now here's another little talking about trivia. Kurt Russell and this sombrero. Did you hear anything on this one?
I
Because
did not.
this one I thought was hilarious because and here the other thing, and I really want to make this point, but Kurt Russell, he had already done Escape from New York, which was a great movie. But I still think,
Also, John Carpenter.
yes, yes, I still think this was his defining moment. This was like some of the way he uttered lines in this. He it kind of like he settled in to who he became later as a action star and just a cool character. The way he tore through this. But this sombrero, he walked into the dressing room where they were going to make him up, and that sombrero was sitting in the dressing room, and he looked at it. He goes, "What the fuck is that?" and and they said, "Oh, that's yours. That you're going to wear that in the movie." And he's like, "Yeah, no way. Like I'm not wearing that hat." And the makeup person said, "Listen, John's already like done a whole bunch of like screen tests, and he's dressed guys up in that sombrero, and this is yours. You got to wear it." And then so at first he was like, "Man, there's no way." See, this is it. This is it here where he said, "What's the deal with the sombrero?" But yeah, so he basically said, "I'm not going to wear it," and they said, "Yeah, you are." And when he finally decided, "Okay, I'm going to trust John Carpenter's got the," and he said afterwards, I thought to myself, "Yeah, the guy he drinks heavy. He probably does wear some." so so he actually like really got into the idea of the character wearing that sombrero, but I thought that was hilarious.
This is one of the many cases we've talked about this before. I'm sure we'll talk about it again,
Yeah,
where you look at the movie and you can't imagine anyone but Kurt Russell being McCready.
yeah,
And yet no one wanted him in that role.
wow, yeah,
It was a choice of convenience because everyone else they had talked to had turned down the role.
yeah.
They asked Nick Nolte,
Oh
Jeff
wow, yeah,
Bridges, Christopher Walken.
wow. This would have been such a different movie if, and I love Christopher Walken. I mean,
Oh,
Nick Nolte
all
is,
great actors.
yeah, but this guy, Kurt Russell, and I'm a huge fan of Kurt Russell. I'm not afraid to say I'm a
Yep,
huge
ditto.
fan. And I thought, man, this movie would. There's no way that people would feel the fondness for this movie if Kurt Russell had turned this role down or hadn't done it. It's an incredible movie. His delivery in this, he's just some of the stuff that he says and does, and I mean, even just that whole thing with the when they're all coming after him, there he is in the room, and that's him right there. He's got they walk in, he's got a pack of dynamite,
Yep.
and a road flare, and he's like, anybody comes near me, when he tries anything, he goes, we're all going. But he made the lines believable, and I mean, at one point, one of the guys goes, "We can all rush him," like, and they're like, "No, no, he's serious." But he, like
Yeah,
I
I
said,
mean, the
perfect.
monster was horrifying,
Yeah,
and it was definitely a main plot point, but the paranoia
yeah,
between the
yeah.
individual, just average humans, was a huge part of the film.
Oh, absolutely. Dom, every time, to tell you the truth, every time I watch it, I still feel, and I know how the movie's going to come out, and I still feel like, holy shit, like if you were in that scene, if you had that going on, you would be thinking like, who the hell's, who the hell's been infected? And
Hmm.
in fact, at the end, by the end of the movie, when everything's like pretty much everybody's dead. It's just it's finally comes down to Childs and McCready, and they're sitting there just sharing a bottle of J&B, and he's like, well, so what do we do now? And he goes, I guess we just wait. but but it's they still you really don't know because uh, he there was a point there where Childs actually ended up out in the and he goes, where were you? And he says, I thought I saw him and I was chasing him down, and he goes, I got lost, and it perfectly believable,
And,
maybe.
and, and it's funny, like John Carpenter and other people working on the script had discussions about this. If if someone had been taken over by the alien, if someone had been copied by the alien, would they even know? And they decided that this alien made such a perfect copy
Yeah,
that they would not know they were the alien even.
yeah, yeah. Well, even in the 1950s one, there is a you do sort of wonder with some of the with some of the characters. You're thinking to yourself, is that what's the awareness like when you get taken over? It's and this took it to such a greater length. Psychologically, it took it to a much higher length. It was, but like I said, perfect casting. There was nobody in this movie that I thought to myself, oh, they shouldn't have had this guy. Or it's almost to me, it's a pretty much a perfect movie. For a horror movie, it's pretty much a perfect movie. And
And I am in agreement, which makes me so confused. This was a complete flop when it came out. People
yeah,
hated this movie.
something, that's the crazy part. I did read that, and I don't understand why, because I remember seeing it with you guys, and I thought to myself, "This is the greatest movie.
Right.
This was so much fun." My initial viewing of it, I immediately thought it was really cool. I immediately thought, "Wow, like this is a movie I could watch," and darned if I haven't. But
Yep.
I've seen this movie pretty much every year since I originally saw it, and that says something. I mean, because I maybe missed 1 or 2 years of where
So the only explanation
yeah,
for the negative response, it still makes questionable sense. I'm not sure about it, but everyone I've read that wrote about it said that at this time, America was going through sort of a recession.
yes, they
Things were
were.
tight.
Yep.
And the number one sci-fi movie at this time was E.T., the extraterrestrial, which was
Okay.
a Spielberg family feel-good
Yeah. Fun. Yeah.
encounter with an alien, and that just audiences were not in the mood to see this nihilistic, bleak, we're all going to die type of
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was
I'll
still
tell you.
so good. I don't know that I buy that.
Yeah. I'll tell yeah, I don't know that I do either because I remember just loving the movie. And the other thing is, I'm nothing knocking E.T. I think E.T. is a fun movie, but honestly, for all the Spielberg fans, I don't think I'm putting Spielberg down because I love Spielberg, but where I would place the thing and I would place ET, and this is just personal preference, but I love the thing. I don't watch ET. I've watched ET probably 4 or 5 times, and I enjoy it. It's a good movie, but it's not one that I think, oh, I got to watch this every year. This one I want to watch every year.
Well, that's
That,
the thing. Again, E.T., great movie.
yeah,
Um, but I feel it does have limited rewatchability.
yeah,
Both for, once you know what the story is, it's not quite as entertaining.
yeah,
And also, it's so dated. It's
yeah,
so 80s.
yes,
Whereas The Thing, it's almost timeless. Like you
yeah. It
could
is
see this
timeless.
happening in
Yeah,
so many time periods.
yeah. I mean, it's not something unless global warming makes the Antarctica actually like warm again. It's something that you think of, wow, that cold, frigid place where if you get stuck there, you're screwed if you're frozen there and you can't get out. I mean, from man's earliest experience that we, of history that's been documented, who was it? Perry, Commander Perry, that went
Yep,
there, and
Perry.
there were different expeditions, and they all got it. A lot of them got into trouble, and it's so cold, it's such a frigid place that it's real easy if something goes wrong, and God forbid you have an alien.
Oh yeah, the
That's
only place more unforgiving would be in the ocean or space.
yes, yeah. Yeah, and again, that which is why Alien is such a fun movie too. But the other thing about this movie that I find real endearing, because not only do you have all the action that's going on, all the craziness is going on, but they actually managed to fit in comedy. There's definitely scenes where you're it's like when the head becomes animated and it's crawling on it spawns legs and and they turn around. They're all, you can just see them all turn their heads. They're all looking back and they're like, what the hell?
He's like, WTF.
Yeah, it's so darn funny that when you see stuff like this. And another thing is when they're testing the blood, and of course nobody knows who's the one that's infected or how many of them are infected. And they got them all tied to the chair, which is right here. And as soon as they start realizing like who's actually the one that's infected, then everybody's like, untie us, untie us. Which of course you would be wanting to get out real quick and get away from the person. But and another thing, and I'm not like I don't super love this actor, but he was really good. He
It's
looked like he
great.
was long before anything ever happened. He looked like he was he looked like he was infected, and that was my first thought was that guy's he's got to have, and plus he was with the dog.
Right. He was with the dog so much, you definitely suspect him right off the bat.
Yeah, and he was protective of which, hey, you would be. I mean, if you love dogs, and I do,
It's funny. I'm watching the movie with Lisa. I'm seeing this dog run across the tundra with
yeah,
the helicopter shooting at, and I know what's going on. And Lisa's like, "Oh, why are they trying to kill this poor dog?"
yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
I'm like, I can't say anything. I can't say anything.
hey, my friend Erica has huskies, and they are such they're crazy. They're different. They're so wolf-like. And like it doesn't take anything to make them start howling. They do like they're real willful. Like they're not like a regular dog. Like regular dog kind of like wants to obey and do. A husky just kind of wants to be contrary. Yeah. But I mean, they're really super intelligent, loving dogs. They're faithful companions, but and they're cute as hell. They're fur balls, I'll tell you. But I mean, look at this dog behind me. It's just The dog's such a beautiful dog. But so yeah, the guy was very protective of his huskies, and it didn't end up well. They get in there, and the other dogs are all looking at that one new husky and going, "Yeah, that's not a husky. He's not one of us." But yeah, this movie, my God, man, I love it. I so love
And
this
so, and
movie.
so we can't talk about this movie without giving a shout out to Rob Bottin or Botton, however his name is pronounced, the guy in charge of the special effects.
Yeah, yeah,
He's the
absolutely.
one behind like everything we see of this creature, and he
Yeah.
did just amazing job. His name is going to go down in special effects and cinematography history.
Well, and rightfully so. The special effects on this, it's a I mean for anyone who loves special effects and
And
like
I should point out
animatronics.
practical special effects,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
CGI.
yeah. Listen, I CGI does allow us to see things that realistically wouldn't have been able to be done in the
I'm
past.
not anti CGI.
No, I'm not either. However, there's something really super endearing, and I really feel like the animatronics needs to stick around. They need
Hmm.
to, I mean, I know it costs more money, and movie sets already or they hemorrhage money, so I get it. However, at the same time, it's like, that's what fans really remember and find endearing is stuff like this.
We may
The,
get to a point where CGI is so advanced that we never need practical special effects,
yeah.
but that is not now.
No,
And
no,
it's
it's not.
probably not going to be in my lifetime.
No. And because it's just like kind of like puppet animation. People still they love that and the animatronics with a movie like this, it just blew me away. I absolutely love what they did on this. Like I said, to me it's almost a perfect it's a perfect horror movie. It's
Hmm.
and it's so much more than a horror. It's sci-fi. It's horror. It's action. It's just got so it's psychological. It's got so much going. Great cast. Great. Everybody in this did a fantastic job. And
Hmm.
they all seem very
Well,
realistic. He's the cook. He's got kind of they all have kind of like a don't give a shit attitude in some way, and yet they do their jobs. They still do their jobs. They like their
and,
weed,
and,
they like their drink.
and we're talking about the cast and how much we like the movie, but let's talk about the often unsung heroes. Do you know who did the score to this movie?
Yes, yes, it was, and that I did not know it until this last
Until we
watching.
started reading, yeah.
Ennio Morricone, yes, the great Ennio Morricone. He's that guy. Everybody was going to him for soundtracks from like the '60s on through, and uh, I mean he was the man. And damn, I never realized that, Dom. I never realized that. I just happened to see it.
And well, there's no reason why you would, because if someone had just played me the score, like
Yeah,
taken the album and said, sit down and listen to this, I never would have pegged that as
yeah.
Morricone
But
because he purposefully tried to copy John Carpenter's score.
yes, yeah. Well, it had that dun, 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 dun. It was this constant like, and but that music made you so uneasy when different things were happening. You were like, it was this constant like, it was almost like somebody was beating a drum right behind your ear. Um, like I said, it was yeah. I didn't know it was him. That's a great piece of trivia right there. But
And do you know where most of the film was, where it was filmed?
I know they filmed it a lot of Alaska for one, but was it Alaska or where was the?
So they filmed in Juneau, Alaska,
Okay,
but the majority was filmed in LA.
wow, that's crazy.
They
That's cra-
made they made movie
that's
sets and then chilled them down
wow,
to
wow.
like negative something. I don't remember the exact temperature.
Yeah,
And so
I
the
did not
actors
know
would
that.
talk about like being in these heavy winter parkas and filming and then walking out into 100-degree weather.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's crazy because when you think of when you think of them having to to dress up and act like they're cold, um, and like I said, I know they filmed it in a variety of places, but man, the LA part, I don't think I knew that. That's crazy.
This scene behind me, I tried to get a good still shot. I couldn't get a good enough one
Oh yeah,
because that person right there is not the actor.
okay,
So
it's
so
too
they
hard to
had
tell.
so this is a scene where one of the researchers seems to go into cardiac arrest. Someone's doing defibrillation on them, and
Yeah,
then at one point they're putting their pads down on the chest, and the chest just opens up and bites the arms
yeah.
right off.
And that's the crazy part is that it's not like the chest caved in. The chest opened up and grabbed.
No, and so to do that scene, they had a double amputee
Oh my God.
put
Wow.
a mask on to look like that actor. And
Wow.
that's when he pulls back with stumps.
That's crazy. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, you see he's got no arms. And they do that in movies where they'll erase it or
Mm.
they'll do some little trick to make it look like the arms are cut off. But yeah, that's crazy. I did not that was another piece of trivia I did
The,
not
the
know.
dedication to the effects in this movie is unheard of.
Yeah, yeah. Which another reason why this movie is so damn good is the the amount of care that they took. And this was this scene. It's a terrible shot, but there's Keith David and Kurt Russell reunion. They had a reunion, and they look like they're having a blast. But I don't know how many of them like really realized how endearing and how enduring this movie would be after all these years. But you know, and
I
this,
don't think anyone knew. Again, like they worked on the movie, and then like it got such bad reviews, it almost destroyed John Carpenter. The studio he was on contract with basically bought him out of his contract. We don't want anything to do with you.
wow,
He
wow,
was he was depressed. He was actually depressed after
yeah,
this movie because he put so much into it and it just did so badly.
wow, wow, yeah. That's sad because for such a quality movie, it boggles my mind that they reacted that way. It's hard for me to believe, especially I don't know how you felt when you watched it. My memory was we were having a damn good time when we watched
Oh
this
my God,
movie.
it blew me away. Again, I was like, how old? I was like
Probably
maybe
13,
14
12.
when I saw
Yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, you couldn't have been too old, but and I know I was probably in my mid 20s. I don't know, but yeah. So like I said, it was just a movie that it hit me right away. I like my feeling was I love this movie. I mean, I couldn't say enough good stuff about it.
And
It was instantaneous.
we can't talk about this movie without at least mentioning, as you did, the 1951 film The Thing from Another World.
Yeah.
But I also feel like we can't talk about this without talking about The Thing from 2011.
Yes. Yep.
And I don't know what to call it. It's not a remake.
It's a
It's kind of a
prequel.
prequel.
Yeah. They call it a prequel.
And I gotta say, like, when I first heard they were making that, the movie The Thing, this one, the 1982 one, looms so large in my mind as such a pinnacle of science fiction cinema
Yeah.
that I'm like, who would be brave and or dumb enough
Yeah.
to like try to do another thing?
Yeah.
And I gotta say, that movie is not bad.
No, it's not. And there's a couple of people um and a couple of people who I value their opinion about who told me that they didn't care for it. I finally got around to watching it, and I have to say, it's not the Kurt Russell one. It's not the
No,
1982 one.
it's not that at all.
But at the same time, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a good
It's a
time.
solid entry into the trilogy here.
Yes. And I mean, I kind of feel the same way about this one here that behind me, the original, The Thing from Another
Right.
World. I'm, it's got an endearing quality to it. It was the first one. I give it full credit. It had the idea, everything. It was, but this one was like much more flighty. The romance, they try to throw the romance thing in there, and it was, I felt that was almost distracting to the movie, and the even the creature was a little bit hokey. So as it's like I said, I'm not putting this down because I feel it started the whole thing, and I'm going to give it full credit. But I mean, when this thing thawed out, there was the guy that went on watch to watch this block of ice that's behind me. He throws a blanket on top of it. The blanket is an electric blanket, and he's sitting there and he's just, I don't know what he's doing. He's whatever he's doing, he's messing around with. He's not doing his job. He's not watching the thing. And it melts and the thing gets out and kills him. And it's like, wow, you put
Yeah,
a
but I mean, like if you're not in a science fiction movie, you're not going to expect anything in a block of ice
that's true. That's gonna
to
get,
get up and do
yeah,
anything. So,
true.
I mean, that was sort of true to that was sort of realistic.
Yeah.
You're on this boring
Yeah,
duty to
that's
watch
true.
something melt.
And a boring detail where you're on for hours at a time.
And
But
now that you're talking about this source material, this was all of these things were
yeah.
based on the 1938 John Campbell novel, Who Goes There?
Okay, it seemed like I heard something about that, but honestly, I didn't even. I've never read the novel for sure,
I haven't
and
either.
yeah, but that's actually kind of kind of news because so was that ever made into a movie?
Well, it sort of was made into the thing.
That
So
thing from
John
another
Carpenter
world.
was not the first choice to direct this movie.
Wow, that would have been a crime right there.
The first choice, I can't remember the guy's name, but he loved the 1951 The Thing from Another World. He hated the 1938 novel Who Goes There? So
Okay.
he wanted to base everything on the 51 movie, The Thing from Another World. And the script he submitted to the producers was as he put it, a swashbuckling black comedy.
Boy, yeah,
And they took one look at it and they're like, no.
yeah.
They're like, no.
Yeah, so glad that happened because that would have been disastrous. We would not be talking about this movie right now had that
And
happened.
so when John Carpenter got the directorial role, he felt overwhelmed by thinking he could build on the 1951 thing from another world. So he went to the source material, Who Goes There?
Yeah.
And that is what he based this movie, The Thing, on.
Uh, okay. Well, all I can say is damn good job, John Carpenter.
Mhm.
And again, I have to say this was Kurt Russell coming into his own. This was the movie I felt even I know he had done Snake Plissken before this, which is a great character, but McCready was the that was the man, and big
Well,
tribute
and
to
let me point out because like we're talking about The Thing. Obviously, there's a great movie. We both love it. Kurt Russell comes into his own. John Carpenter also did worked with Kurt Russell on Escape from New York, another sci-fi classic
yeah.
everyone talks about. The thing I never hear people talk about is one of my favorite movies, Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh my God, yeah, and we are gonna have to do that
We're
one
gonna have to do that.
because again, and I said this to you before. I think I said it to you off screen, but I actually have come to more fully appreciate Big Trouble in Little China now. After watching it more recently, I was like, wow, this movie has aged really
Yeah.
well, and not every movie does.
Well, I mean,
So
because it's fun. It doesn't
yes,
take itself seriously in any way.
yeah, and I love a movie that has a sense of humor and has humor, and that's good humor, and
Hmm.
that movie certainly does. And this one also has a big tribute to J&B Scotch, which every time I watch this, and that's probably a new tradition that I'm going to have to take on, is to get a bottle of J&B, because every time I see it, I think to myself, and I've got some Scotch in my liquor cabinet. I don't have any J&B, and I was like, wow, I need to get a bottle just so when I rewatch this, like next winter, I break out the J&B. But but
Actually,
yeah,
I never thought about that. I am going to have to do the same thing.
yeah, yeah, bottle of J&B. And
I, I, to-
that's another thing is when Kurt Russell and here's another thing that's talking about piece of trivia. When he's playing the chess game and he's drinking the J&B straight up, I believe, but he's when he's drinking that and he's playing the chess, you hear a woman's voice.
Mhm.
That is John Carpenter's wife, Adrienne Barbeau.
Yep.
so, so yeah, that just a little piece of trivia.
The most amazing thing I learned from that is John Carpenter was married to Adrienne Barbeau.
I know, seriously. I mean, he lucked out there. But yeah, that's
I
crazy.
told you that critics responded negatively to this movie when it first came out. The criticism that hit John Carpenter the hardest
Right.
was from the director of the 1951 The Thing from Another World,
Oh, really?
who said he did not like this movie, and all it is a great commercial for J&B.
uh okay. Um I won't fight the fact that it's a little bit of a commercial for J&B, because it does make me want to
Oh,
drink J.
it totally does.
But at the same time, this movie is so much more than that. And honestly, I watched this movie for just for this talk that we're having. And then I went back and watched The Thing from Another World. And I was admiring the original movie, and I fully give it praise. And there's another shot of JMB. That's the chess game. But this movie, I have to say, as much as I give honor to the original, this movie is it. This movie is just it's the movie. If
Mhm.
you had to lose all of them, this is the movie you'd want to preserve. It's just
And I should
fantastic.
let people who are watching, if they are curious about the 1951, The Thing from Another World, it's on Tubi. I know we plug
Yeah.
Tubi a lot, but it is on Tubi. You can watch it for free right now. Go do it. It's
Tubi's
a
a
fun
great
movie.
Tubi's a great service, and the very fact that they have so many movies free, you can't help but praise Tubi. It's they have so much for free, other than you got to watch a few commercials, but big deal. That service is fantastic,
Oh,
and
fantastic. And like I used to watch network television.
yeah.
The number of commercials you'll see watching something on Tubi is nothing compared.
Oh my God, yeah, they inundate you with the the old format, the old system. It's yeah, Tubi is actually pretty kind to people, what they throw at you, the amount and how they do it. They don't make they don't even make the commercials like I've seen services where free services where the commercials were still so obnoxious, or they'd only play one commercial again and again and again. And at least they'll rotate the commercials a little bit. So it's commercials, but big deal. You get to see a movie, a great movie for free.
Hmm.
And for anyone watching right now, we've been praising The Thing, and I feel rightfully so. Um, but uh, you know, please, if you haven't seen the original, see the original. It's a fun movie, and it's the origin of where
It's a
this one
sci-fi
came from.
classic. At this point in time, it's a little primitive
Yeah,
when it comes to
it
filmmaking, but
is. It's a
for the
little hokey.
time,
It's a little hokey.
it's a great movie.
It is. It is. And again, this one is just such a cut above everything. But and we didn't spend probably enough time on the newer one, the 2011.
But we're going to choose that in the future. Like
We
I have no
will.
doubt that's going
We
to be a
we
choice of
will.
ours at some
And
point.
I do I just want to say here and now, I do thoroughly agree with you. I really enjoyed that movie. That was a fun movie, and
That
yes,
movie is worth watching.
yes, and we need to do it. I thought the action star, the chick that plays the main character, and I can't think of her name right now. Um, but um, but no, I fully give credit to her too. I thought stepping into Kurt Russell's shoes, those were big shoes to fill, and she didn't try to outdo him, and that's what made it work. So, and by the
But
way, you guys, you and your brother used to have this was a card set.
huh?
Yes, and you guys had some because I actually remember some of those cards, but you guys had you probably should still have them. But yes, you did have them. It was in some,
Oh man, I wish I knew where they were if we
yeah,
did.
yeah, it was in some bubblegum pack or something you guys opened up. But yep, you guys actually had some of those. I
So
remember.
so I found some interesting trivia while looking
Sure.
at this movie. In the movie, it starts out with the helicopter chasing the dog, shooting at, but the pilot is announcing things over the radio. The Americans can't understand it because they're speaking Norwegian.
Right.
If you understood Norwegian, this is what it
Which I don't.
translates to.
But okay.
Get the hell out of there. That's not a dog. It's some
Oh,
sort of thing. It's imitating a dog. It isn't real. Get away, you idiots.
wow. Wow. That's great. That's great. No, I did not know that. That's absolutely and that's another thing. There are so many cool scenes in this. One of the cool scenes is when they actually go to the
Mhm.
Norwegian uh, uh,
Camp.
their setup, and and when they do wandering around there, that they spent good good time setting up a frozen setup that was just so it was so wasted. There was one guy that looked like he killed himself. His wrists are slit open. There's bunch of dead people in the place. It's a perfect layout for you saying to yourself, "What the hell happened here?" And then of
Mhm.
course they find the flying saucer buried in the ice. There's so many, and actually that's almost a tribute to the original because that looks very much like the 1951 when they were looking at. And that's another thing that they did in the 1951 one, which was crazy. They decide to use thermite and they basically blow up the entire saucer and melt it. It's gone. Everything's gone. And what they do find later in the ice is the square that's cut out where they had they ended up digging out the block, and that's what they take back is that block. So, which is what the Norwegians did was they took back that block. But yeah, just crazy. And they seem to like in the 1951 one, they seem to just destroy everything that they were trying to at least even look at. And it's because they said, well, we found a craft from another world and we destroyed it. And at the end of the movie, they've destroyed everything that had anything to do with the thing. So, which of course this one ended up being the same deal. But yeah, and there's the guy with his dog, the alien dog. He spent so much time with that husky. All I could think
Mhm.
of is, dude, he's got to be contaminated.
Yeah, how he was not the first one gone, I'll never know.
Well, and I like how they did that because your immediate thought was, I mean, I was sure when I watched this movie the first time, I was sure it was him. And it still
Mhm.
confuses me sometimes when I'm rewatching the movie. I think, wait a minute, is he actually infected? Because, and you kind of wonder, but there is a blood test scene that happens later, which is brilliant, by the way, how they think of the blood test.
Oh my God. There's a whole, I don't remember all of it, but there's a whole story about John Carpenter and a few of the writers getting together and coming up with that idea and just falling in love with that scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene. It's an absolutely great scene. I mean, him heating that piece of copper wire and touching it into which is behind you, um, touching it into the blood. And then I love it when Child says to him, "Well, he wasn't infected, so that makes you a murderer." It's like, well, the guy was coming at me and
Mhm.
he was trying to kill me when he did. But
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the setting, the atmospheric quality of this movie, the acting of the cast, the score, the and definitely the special effects, all of it just combines. I'm giving this movie two thumbs up, and if I had a graphics like you did, I would give it more. I love this
yeah.
movie.
Yep, I fully give it the two thumbs up. Plus, I have to give it my many thumbs up. So,
It's
but
entirely worthy of that. Like, um,
absolutely,
I don't know. I don't know who wouldn't have seen the thing and would be still listening to us at this
right.
point.
Yep,
But if you are and you have not seen the thing, I urge you, see the thing,
yes. See the thing, and it's got a flamethrower in
which is
it.
never a bad thing.
Yeah, no, no, it always makes a movie better. So yeah, I have to say, I this is probably one of the movies that I would, especially for sci-fi horror. Um, this is so it's probably in my top five horror sci-fi. It's that's how good, and it might be top three. It's that good. It's just such a good movie. If you haven't seen it, you must see it. If you're at all a fan of either horror or sci-fi, action, or if you're a Kurt Russell fan, Keith David is fantastic in this. The whole cast is.
The whole
Uh,
cast.
it's a terrific cast. Everybody's believable. Uh, just see the movie if you haven't seen it.
There are not many movies that I personally put into the must-see category.
Yeah.
If you're a movie lover, this is must-see.
Yes, absolutely. And having said all that, I think we probably, I mean, we could talk all night about this one.
And that's the thing. This is a movie that we could talk forever on.
Yeah, yeah, and and probably just keep thinking of different things that you. But uh,
I could talk for an entire hour on the special effects alone.
yeah, yeah, and then when you talk about the actors and the acting, it's got Wilford Brimley. It's there's so many cool actors in this movie that just make this movie uh, the movie that it is, the fantastic movie that it is. But and I still say this is Kurt Russell to me absolutely came into his own. This was his breakout movie for me. I felt like beyond Snake Plissken is great. I love Escape. We got to do Escape from New York,
Yep,
but
yep, we do.
but and again, I'm a huge Kurt Russell fan, but this movie, this is Kurt Russell. This is, and hey, he did so many great movies, including Tombstone. But so it just on and on. But yeah, we really could talk all night. But
I
why?
think we'll be talking about Kurt Russell again in the future, but it's your
Absolutely.
pick next.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I'm not picking. I'm not picking a Kurt Russell movie, although I easily could.
There's
But
time.
I'll tell you what movie, and I've been really I get tortured when I have to pick. I really do. Um, I'll tell you the movie that I actually think I'm settling on, and I'm going to say it: Midnight Cowboy.
Okay.
That's a
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in ages.
yeah, it's been a long time for me also. And it's a terrific cast. John Voight, Dustin Hoffman, Brenda Vaccaro's in it. There's a lot of stars in that movie. And so that's the movie I'm picking. I could have picked a dozen, easily a dozen other movies. And I'll tell you, when you said like even when you just said now, like, well, your pick is not. My immediately thought was, should I do this one? Should I? But I had to do it because
You just got
I
to make a choice.
I got to make a choice, and I'm such a movie fan. It's hard for me to pick, but Midnight Cowboy. So it's been a little while for me since I saw it, but terrific movie. It's a very New York movie. Um, it's got a great soundtrack. You know, it's but Harry Nilsson soundtrack for, but anyway, we'll talk more about that next week. So,
Indeed, we will.
Dom, it was great. It was great talking to you on this one,
Great as
and
always.
yeah, always. And this one was extra special because it's a movie I think that for both of us, yeah, near and dear to our hearts,
Hmm.
and we have a shared memory of this movie, which makes it even more special. Your brother was he was watching with us. We had a great time.
Yep.
We had laughs, we had chills, we had the whole
We had
bit.
popcorn.
Yeah, we did. We did. So, so yeah, that popcorn's always good to have when you're watching a movie of this caliber. But folks, I think that's it. We're gonna wrap it up. And Dom, thanks for picking it because we
Oh, my
needed someone.
pleasure.
We needed someone to have the courage and grab it because we kept him and Han. Should we pick it? Should we pick it? So thank God you did. But okay, hey, I will see you next week, Dom, and
I'll see you
for
next week, man.
everybody out there, like and subscribe. See you guys next week. Take care.